Hi everybody, welcome. Here's a new and brand new episode of Toto on Video Podcast, a podcast made by kids, to kids, for kids, and everybody in general. I am Brian King and I am your host for today. In studio, I have with me a guest, not an amazing one, but a guest for us all. And his name is...
Eric Namai. What do you mean not an amazing one?
Well, you're yet to prove you're amazing. So
I am amazing.
We'll see
you
about
guys know.
that. We'll see about how you doing.
I'm good. Maybe
you're feeling good. Mm-hmm. Usually you're on this end of the podcast.
Actually, yeah. By the way.
So yes, he's not an amazing guest. He's usually a host. So yes. But today's topic is actually about languages and how they influence the lives of children.
Yes.
Right. So, question to you, my dear viewer. How many languages do you speak, and how do they influence your day-to-day life? Eric, I will head over to you with that same question. How many languages do you speak, first of all?
I speak several.
Ooh, introduce yourself. Just tell us your name and if you're a boy or not in all languages.
Okay, so my name is Eric Namai. I'm a boy.
Number one?
Je m'appelle Eric et je suis un garçon. मेरा नाम c'est Eric. I mix French and Hindi. मेरा नाम c'est Eric et je suis un... मेरा नाम c'est Eric et je suis un... I'm mixing Hindi and French.
Oh, so that reason. Is Hindi?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have French. He just invented his own language.
I'm not that good in Hindi.
Well, I mean, so you speak English, French, and Hindi.
And Swahili.
Oh, and Swahili. That is amazing. So, question, how do those languages, influence your day-to-day life? And
Correction,
would you be a different person if you spoke, different languages or if you didn't speak as a particular language?
Let me correct you first of all. I don't speak Hindi. Guys, don't come out there and start speaking in Hindi. I just know a few words. That's all. Okay?
Okay.
And, what is the question again?
How do these languages actually influence your day-to-day lives? And would you be a different person if you spoke different languages?
Yeah, I actually think it... Okay, I don't want to say in a boastful type of manner, but I think it's kind of interesting when you know a different languages. For me, personally, I don't know my mother and my father's language. So, why you nodding your head? First of all, it was good for me to learn French. I'm not that good in French. I'm still a student of French, but I can hold down a conversation in French. I can understand sometimes people when they're speaking French. And, it's good because... in Kenya, there's this phrase when you go to a barber shop or a salon, okay, and then maybe they're doing your hair, and then they're singing you in another language, right?
What? You all have heard of such a saying? Because me, the only language,
okay, I know that it's not a saying, but I do know.
When you go to Rome, be a Roman. But at your salon,
okay, it's not a saying. It's not a saying. It's something that happens. You go somewhere and people are speaking a different language, and then they think you can't understand their language, right? And they're talking ill of you. And I'm not saying that's a motivation to learn a new language, but they're talking ill of you, and then you understand the language.
So people just go to kinyosis and salons to talk like
you have not been in such a situation. I've been told stories.
Oh my goodness. Anyways.
But bottom line, it does give you a different type of feeling. You can speak English, you can speak French. For me, I can speak Swahili. When I go to people who are speaking French fluently, from the native languages, they'll be like, wow, you speak French, you speak Swahili? I'm like, yeah, so maybe you can teach us. We get to exchange languages. We get to teach one another the type of languages. I've actually had a conversation with someone from France, and actually their accent is so different, and they're really, really fast. But we actually decided he will be my teacher of French and I will be a teacher of English.
Okay, interesting. So basically, according to you, it helps build social connections and friends, basically, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to friends specifically. You mentioned gaining a new friend from France, right? Mm-hmm. What about here in Kenya and your peer group? Do the languages you speak actually affect the kind of friends you can make? And do you choose friends or make friends according to the languages they speak, or does speaking a certain language, like let's say French, like prevent you from accessing a certain group of friends, or enable you to access a certain group of friends? How does that help, or how does it hinder you from basically enlarging your social connections?
Okay, so for me, I don't think that languages can be a barrier for you making friends. Because basically, when you go to a school, maybe you're in a new school, and then you go to a class, you don't get to decide who you like. The teacher will tell you, go sit there, and the language you find him speaking, your desk mate, is the language you're going to communicate with. So, okay, I don't think that it's going to differ or anything, but maybe let's say someone who comes from an English speaking family. I have seen people who I was in Form 1 up until Form 4, he has never spoken Swahili, okay, and this guy is Kenyan, right? So I can say that during the first days, maybe people might not like you when you're speaking English, especially here in Kenya. When you're speaking English and you come from an English speaking family, there's that type of accent. It's called the Kenyan accent that you have, right? Like, I might speak English, okay, but I don't have that Kenyan accent. There's that person who can speak with that Kenyan accent, right?
There's a Kenyan accent?
There is actually. I actually found out there's a Kenyan English accent.
Fun fact.
I did not know there was a Kenyan.
Like
for real.
Who have you, like, I don't know anyone. How does a Kenyan, can you like fake it? Or
I
like,
can't completely.
okay, go learn it and come show
Like
me
there's
next
actually a Kenyan English accent. So they're presumed, or rather assumed, from coming from the rich kids, as they call them, right?
Oh yeah, the rich
so
kids.
that's their English is the Kenyan accent.
10. It is the accent. It is that one accent.
Okay, it is the Kenyan accent, right? Okay, so what I was telling you is that you might be in class and then these people don't like the way you're speaking English because, I don't know, I don't want to say they're jealous or something. They just think that you're boasting, or something like that, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is a situation I've seen in school. People will literally stay away from you because you speak English. You look at yourself in a different class, and I think they think that when you speak English, they cannot fit in with you, right?
Okay, but then again, speaking from that point of perspective, why should children then bother to learn new languages if it's going to become a hindrance or become a source of hatred in school?
I was speaking on the perspective of speaking English and Swahili in Kenya, but speaking another language that's not English or Kiswahili, like for me, I'd say French. It's pretty cool when you're speaking French in class. People. I actually had a friend of mine whose name was Ethan. Right in class, he'd sit like at the end of the class, the corner of the class, and I'm like at the front, and we'd speak French in class, and people won't like say Wajifanya or something like that. It was really
great.
interesting.
So it's like a secret language.
Exactly,
That's
like
pretty
it's really cool.
Okay, but then again, now to like understand like the positive side of it, apart from school, like from at home, you say that there's some families that actually speak English from the family level, right? Is this really a good thing, or does it like prevent or hinder children from like knowing their native language? You mentioned that you don't speak your tribal language, basically, right?
I do not.
My tribal language is Kikuyu, and I do speak a bit of it. I'm trying to learn. And I come from those families as well that don't really speak it that much.
Yeah.
So like, I was wondering, is it a good thing that our tribal languages are kind of disappearing from us? From our current generation? You don't speak it, I speak a bit of it, and I know a lot of my friends don't actually speak it. So what kind of impact or effect is it going to have to us?
Actually, I do like answering questions on a percentage type of answer, like when I say 40% and 50%. So 40%, we are losing the culture, but 50%, it's quite interesting. First of all,
What? I did get that. It's said 40 and 50, man.
yeah, like 40% of your question, like the answer to it is, you're asking me if we might be losing our
tribal languages.
Yes, actually that's 50% because we are. Not many people are embracing the languages, right? Like, but it's not your fault. Like me, I was born in Nairobi. I grew up in Nairobi, and like basically everything I know about myself and my whole life is in Nairobi. I've only gone to my Ushago when I was, I don't know, for Christmas, or maybe you're doing visits, or maybe it's a family meeting, or maybe a funeral. Okay, that's the time when I'm going, Nando shall go, right? But apart from that, I'm usually in Nairobi. And what's the languages that are spoken in Nairobi? We have Sheng. That's fast.
Shemeteng.
Okay. We have English, rich kids, and then we have Kiswahili, but not actually.
I don't
don't
think people
even think
actually
people
speak Swahili.
Exactly. I don't.
It's
Yeah, it's
more of
just Sheng and English. They've
Yeah.
actually incorporated Sheng words into Kiswahili, so it's like a Kiswa Sheng or
Yeah,
something.
It's actually just Sheng. But like, okay, like, I want us to like deviate from the international languages and focus like more here in Africa, right?
Yeah.
In Africa, our tribe is part of our identity, as many people actually identify themselves with their tribe, right? Considering this, are we? Is it really a good thing that we are losing part of our identity in order for us to like gain the status quo of being considered more educated because of knowing our tribal languages? Is it really a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And according to you, is it really going to affect us in any way if we, for example, never learn our tribal languages? Because like I mean, most of the time, sorry to cut you off. Most
Okay,
of the
no
time, tribes in Kenya or like our tribal identity are associated with bad things: nepotism, tribalism, hatred towards intercommunity wars or such things, right? So is it? Maybe you can just tell us about that. Our tribal languages. Is it a bad thing that we're
I'm
losing?
glad you mentioned that because a lot of the thing that's actually dividing Kenya right now, apart from corruption, is nepotism, right? And it comes from like nepotism is the one for languages. No, tribalism. Nepotism for the one family, right?
yeah.
Tribalism, right? If you come from a different tribe, you speak another language, right? If you don't speak my language, you're from a different tribe, and I won't like you, right? So what basically I'm trying to say is that, like, for me, by the way, that's a really hard question to answer for me, since I don't know my tribal
You
languages.
don't know your tribal language.
I do not know my
Are you
tribal
trying
language.
to learn?
Now that's the question for me. I don't know if anyone's gonna crucify me for this, but I've never developed an interest of learning them. Like if I wanted to learn them, I would, but I don't. That's why I picked up an interest in learning French. Actually, I didn't even want to learn French. I wanted to learn Spanish in the first place, but then I entered school and there was no Spanish, so I had to do French apparently. So I've never had an interest in doing that, and I think it's kind of sad because we are losing our tribal traditions and stuff, right?
Yeah.
The things that our tribes used to do, the good things though, not the bad things, you know.
Yeah.
The good things our tribes used to do, the education from our tribes, all that knowledge is literally going away, and we have a lot of few people who are trying to preserve that knowledge, or rather incorporate it into the world of today, apparently.
Okay, I actually understand where you're coming from, because I mean I remember at some point my grandma asked me to speak Kikuyu, and I was just like Sister Shosh, where am I also gonna ever gonna use like Kikuyu, right? So I think it's something that our generation needs.
But also it's kind of interesting when you're like, you start from a family that's speaking English, you know, when you're young, because it's kind of okay. So I don't know how to say this. I'm not trying to like butcher my tribe or our
just
tribe.
say it. If you butcher it, you butcher it.
But I think it's trying to like teach your kids in the Western way of living. Yeah.
But I think a lot of negativity also comes from shrubbing. You said accent.
I'm like, I literally
You
said
accent like some few minutes ago, and we laughed about it. Even though it might be funny, some people actually do not learn tribal languages just because of the fear of shrubbing, right? I mean, they're usually like, if I learn Kikuyu, I'll start saying light or light, or like start mixing up R and L and L and R, like you get.
Yeah,
Because,
but
like,
you see,
there's
yeah.
some different intonation and all this. But I want you to just answer this question: are our tribal languages, our national languages, more important than the international languages, or is it the other way around?
I'll answer that question. But let me say this first. I think one of the ways we can actually like embrace our tribes and stuff is by doing that. Like,
Doing what?
you can literally tell a Kikuyu from a Kamba or a Kikuyu from a Luya by the way they speak in their language, or the national language, the Kiswahili or the English, right? So
The accent they have, technically,
exactly, talking about the
basically.
accent. When if I'm an American, I would speak like an American, but there's a difference between the American English and the Australian English and the British English, and that's how
Yeah,
you
mate.
and that's how you get identity. Basically, that's why I literally said I didn't even know there's a Kenyan English accent apparently.
Okay, so like, just like straight to the point. Why should a child want to learn an extra language plus their tribal language?
I will use the points we were given in the first French lessons. First of all, if like for me, I'll speak on my own perspective. Like for French, first of all, like when you finish high school, it's it brings a great opportunity for you since you speak another language rather. You can there's different job opportunities for you. Okay, another thing, you can be able or easily communicate with people from that land. Okay, maybe for me it's French, right? So I can communicate. I can easily go to Alliance Française and speak French with them, and they can understand, right? It's interesting to learn a new language. By the way, you tell me, you said you learned coding, right?
Yes.
Right. Like the first time you learned how to code and you were really good at coding, you loved it, right?
Well, I guess.
Okay, what do you love doing? Cooking?
I take offense. You know what? Okay, let's just finish this. I love coding. Yes.
Okay, I was saying you loved it, right?
Yes.
So for me, or for a child out there who's learning a new language and you're actually into the language, once you learn it and you know how to speak it, it becomes really interesting and you'll love it and you'll want to know more about the country that speaks this language.
So, according to Eric Nemai, learning new languages will open new doors for you. It's actually the same thing for our tribal languages. I think as African children, we should not be ashamed of our roots, rather embrace our ethnicity and the beauty of our past. Love your tribal language, learn it, and live it. Most of them are actually very beautiful. Actually, all of them are actually very beautiful. And learn your tribal language, learn your neighbor's tribal language, and learn even more. But for today, it's a wrap, my guys. See you in the next episode. My name is Brian King. I have been your host. My amazing guest for today was Eric Namai. See you on the next one. Peace out.